Hello everybody, and you're very welcome back to the channel, and a very happy Bank Holiday Monday to everyone in the Republic of Ireland. And thank you very much to St. Bridget for giving us this day off, this extra day off work in the year that we've gotten only in the last couple of years. It's a nice time of the year to have a day off, especially after a tough January and after last weekend, terrible storm. I know a lot of people in Galway, especially in the west of Ireland, are still without power, still have no phone signal, still are without Wi-Fi. So it has been a very, very tough week, and continues to be for a lot of people. This video is all about Massey Ferguson. But wait, I hear you say, Alan, have you not dealt with Massey Ferguson before? Well, no, I haven't. I have obviously dealt with the great Harry Ferguson and his life and legacy. I've dealt with Daniel Massey, so that's the Massey end of it. And I've done individual videos on the Ferguson, the little grey Fergie, the T20 and the like. I have done the Ferguson 35, the 100 series, the 1200, 1250 series, and I've done a special video on the Massey Ferguson Quattrino that not many people will have heard of. So if you are a fan of Massey Ferguson, of the red tractors, be sure to check out my back catalogue. All those videos are there to be watched, and they are all very, very popular. If you're watching today and you're a Massey fan, obviously you're watching. If you're a Massey fan, please drop a comment into the comments box, into the comment section. Let me know about your history with Massey Ferguson, with the tractors, with anything, the combine harvesters, whatever it is. Let me know your history with them, what you think, what's your favourite model, what's your favourite machine, because people love sharing their comments in the comment section. My favourite machine, well, I'm going to leave that a little bit later on in the video. It's not what you think. It's not going to be what you think. Maybe some of you can guess, but it's not what you think. So I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to leave it a little bit longer, let people hang out a bit, let them guess what is my favourite Massey Ferguson machine. So really, that's it. So anyone that watched the video last week, I know it obviously didn't get the views that I normally get, but a lot of that is down to the power being out and Wi-Fi being down, and YouTube just didn't kick it on the way I would have liked it to, because it wasn't obviously getting views. Anyway, such is life. I'll still make them. If I got 10 views, I'll still make these videos. So today, Massey Ferguson, and we're going to get into that straight away. Massey Ferguson is an agricultural machinery manufacturer established in 1953 through the merger of farm equipment makers Massey Harris of Canada and the Ferguson Company of the United Kingdom. It was based in Coventry and then moved to Beauvais in France in 2003 when the Coventry factory was shut down. In 1847, Daniel Massey established the Newcastle Foundry and Machine Manufactory in what is now Newcastle, Ontario. The company made some of the world's first mechanical threshers, so combines and stuff, not combines, but threshers for grain and stuff, at first by assembling parts from the United States, but eventually designing and building its own equipment. Daniel Massey's son, Hart Massey, renamed the enterprise the Massey Manufacturing Company. In 1879, the company moved to Toronto, and it soon became one of the city's leading employers. It was located on King Street West, occupying the former Toronto Exhibition Grounds, the site of Toronto's Crystal Palace, just south of the Provincial Lunatic Asylum and north of the Central Prison. The huge complex of factories, consisting of an 11-acre site with plant and head office at 915 King Street West, became one of the best-known features in the city. The company expanded further to begin and sell its products internationally. Through extensive advertising campaigns, it became one of the most well-known brands within Canada. A labour shortage throughout the country also helped to make the firm's mechanised equipment very attractive. In 1891, the Massey Manufacturing Company merged with A. Harris, Son and Company to form Massey Harris Limited, which became the largest agricultural equipment maker in the British Empire. Massey Harris made threshing machines and reapers, as well as safety bicycles, introducing a shaft-driven model in 1898. In 1910, Massey Harris acquired the Johnston Harvester Company of Batavia in New York, making it one of Canada's first multinational firms. Hart Massey's sons, Charles, Walter and Chester and Fred, also became closely involved in the business and eventually took over its operations. They were the last generation of Masseys to run the Massey Harris Company. President Vincent Massey left to become a minister in the Mackenzie-King government. In 1927, an unsolicited takeover offer from an unnamed US purchaser precipitated a power struggle for control in the firm. The US bid was turned down and control remained in Canadian hands, with the sale of the Massey stock for $8 million Canadian dollars to Thomas Bradshaw and J.H. Grundy of Toronto. Members of the family accomplished other things in business. Vincent Massey later became Governor General of Canada. Raymond Massey became a noted, famous actor in American films. The Massey family used its fortune to improve the city of Toronto, and many institutions, including the University of Guelph, University of Toronto, Upper Canada College, Crescent School, Appleby College, Massey Hall, and Metropolitan United Church, were partially financed by the Masseys. The company earlier made tractor models including the Massey GP, the Massey Harris Pacemaker, the Model 101, the Massey Harris Pony, the Model 20, 81 and Model 744. Grain harvesting was revolutionised by Massey engineer Tom Carroll in 1938 with the world's first affordable, mass-produced, self-propelled combine, the number 20. It was too heavy and expensive for extensive mass production, but served as a guide for the design of the lighter and less costly number 21, which was tested in 1940 and put on sale in 1941. The Massey Harris number 21 combine was commemorated with a Canada stamp on the 8th of June in 1996. Massey Harris also produced one of the world's first four-wheel drive tractors. E.P. Taylor joined the board of directors in 1942 and Eric Phillips joined management in 1946. The company became part of the prime jewels of the Argus Corporation. The final generation of Massey Harris tractors introduced immediately after World War II included the MH22, the 33, the 44, the 55 and the MH55 series. The 1952 MH22 was replaced by the 23 Mustang. In 1955, the 30 horsepower Massey Harris 50 was introduced after the merger that created Massey Harris Ferguson. It was based on the TO35 and was also produced as the F40 for Ferguson dealers. The MH50 was available in several configurations, including high crop utility, row crop, and choice with single, tricycle, or wide adjustable front ends. In 1956, the MH33 was replaced by the MH333, and so on. The tractors became known as the Triple Series and were mechanically similar to their predecessors. However, they now featured new styling, which included a different hood design, chrome trim on the grille, and a different colour scheme. They were also available with power steering, live PTO, and hydraulics. The Massey Ferguson Triple Series tractors remained in production until 1958. Looking towards military contracts then during World War II and afterwards, Massey Harris undertook a number of contracts to produce tractors, tanks, and self-propelled artillery vehicles for the United States Armed Forces. Vehicles produced by Massey Harris included the following. So the M5 Stuart Light Tank, the M41 Howitzer motor-carried self-propelled artillery chassis, the M44 self-propelled howitzer, the M41 Walker Bulldog tank chassis, the M36 Jackson tank destroyer, and the M19 multiple gun motor-carried self-propelled anti-aircraft artillery. In 1953, Massey Harris merged with the Ferguson Company to become Massey Harris Ferguson, before shortening it to Massey Ferguson in 1958. They tried to consolidate the two dealer networks. Nevertheless, the company soon began to decline financially and facing increasing international competition in the 1960s when the firm began to struggle. So looking towards Argentina, so in 1971, Massey purchased the local facilities at Rheinstahlhano Mag in Argentina, which had been established in 1960. This saw the production of tractors and other agricultural implements during until 1999. Some models made there included the 65R, the 155, the S4, the 265, the 250, the 1475 Super Alto, and the 1485 SX. So looking at Australia then, Sunshine. In 1955, Massey Ferguson purchased the Australian manufacturers of Sunshine harvesters, HV Mackay Limited. Hugh Victor Mackay had invented the combine harvester in 1884, the first machine to combine the functions of reaping, threshing, winnowing grain from a standing crop. By the 1920s, HV Mackay Limited was running the largest implement factory in the Southern Hemisphere, covering 75 acres, and led the international agricultural industry through the development of the world's first properly self-propelled harvester in 1924. In 1930, the H.V. Mackay Limited were granted exclusive Australian distribution of Massey Harris machinery. The company was then renamed H.V. Mackay Massey Harris Pty Limited. Throughout World War II, H.V. Mackay Massey Harris exported 20,000 sunshine drills, disc harrows and binders to England to facilitate the increase in food production. In 1955, the remainder of H.V. Mackay Limited were sold to Massey Ferguson. Manufacturing ended in 1986 and the last section was sold off and demolished in 1992. The former bulk store, factory gates and clock tower, factory gardens and head office complex still exist and are all listed on the Victorian Heritage Register. In 1959, Massey bought 100% of Landini, which is based in Italy. Landini had built many models for Massey over the years, especially vineyard and crawler models. Massey sold 66% to Argo in 1989, another percentage later to Iseki, and the final part was sold to Argo in 2000. In 1959, Perkins engines from Peterborough, England were purchased. So Perkins was obviously the main diesel engine supplier for Massey Ferguson for many years. In 1990, Massey Ferguson took over Dorman Diesels of Stafford, merging it with Perkins to form Perkins Engines Stafford Limited. In the 1980s, Perkins purchased Rolls-Royce Diesels Limited to form Perkins Engines Shrewsbury Limited. In 1994, Perkins was bought by Lucas Varity, who sold it in 1998 to Caterpillar Inc., who was a major customer for Perkins' small and mid-sized engines. Caterpillar was a major producer of large diesel engines for stationary and mobile applications. In 1966, Massey purchased 32% of the Spanish tractor and auto company Ebro, or Motor Iberica. Ebro had previously built Ford tractors under license, but now began building models for Massey, and Massey models under license. Massey sold its interest to Nissan in the 1980s. In the early 1960s, Massey Ferguson moved their head office from 915 King Street to the Sun Life Tower at 200 University Avenue in downtown Toronto. In 1969, Massey Ferguson began producing a line of snowmobiles under the name Ski Whiz. The snowmobile line was discontinued in 1977 due to a decline in sales. Then in 1973, Massey purchased the German Eicher tractor brand and many Massey licensed Eichers were built. They later sold their interest to Dromson, who now owns Eicher, which now builds specialised tractors for vineyards and such. On the 16th of August 1978, Conrad Black, whose family had obtained control of the Argos Corporation, an investor in Massey Ferguson, became active in Massey Ferguson's management. In 1977, Chairman Albert Thornber received a $471,000 salary, the highest executive salary in Canada at the time. During the 50 years between 29 and 79, the firm only made a 4% profit on its sales 5 times. Under Black's leadership, Massey Ferguson instituted significant cost-cutting programs and downsized its workforce in an attempt to improve its profitability. During the late 1970s, production was relocated to Toronto to a new, larger facility in Brantford, Ontario. In 1978, Ferguson was the first to introduce an electronic control system for 3-point hitch on the tractor. However, a worldwide decline in the agricultural equipment market, combined with high inflation, high domestic interest, and a major recession caused Massey Ferguson to slip into a loss and seek relief from creditors. On the 31st of October 1979, Volkswagen AG made an informal offer of 51% for the firm, but was rebuffed by Black. On the 23rd of May 1980, Black resigned as chairman. In a subsequent series of detailed and lengthy letters to Herb Gray, the then Canadian Minister of Industry under the government of Pierre Trudeau, he remarked on the challenges faced by the firm and outlined his solution, which would have seen the Canadian and Ontario governments, as well as the Argos Corporation, refloat the ailing firm. Black failed to obtain a suitable response and resolved to cut his losses. In October 1980, Argos donated its shares in Massey Ferguson to the employees' pension plans, leading the way to a $250 million Canadian bailout of the Government of Canada and the Government of Ontario for the collapsing business, which later was renamed Varity Corporation. In 1986, Varity spun off several money-losing divisions into an entity called Massey Combines Corporation. Massey Combines Corporation was headquartered in Brantford and became insolvent on the 4th of March 1988, and its assets were reacquired by Massey Ferguson. Varity left Toronto and relocated its head office to the William Butler House at 672 Delaware Avenue in the Millionaire Row area of Buffalo, New York. The Toronto manufacturing complex was demolished and the property sold and redeveloped, leaving only its head office building standing. Despite its hardships, Massey Ferguson was selling 25% more tractors than its nearest competitor at the time. In 1992, a management buyout of MF Industrial created Fermec, which ceased trading in 2001 when it was taken over by the Terex Corporation, formerly a unit of General Motors. The sale encompassed all construction equipment from Massey. It was then purchased by Case Corporation in 1997. In 1994, Massey Ferguson's worldwide holdings were purchased by the United States company AGCO. So the AGCO Corporation, that was bought for $328 million in cash and $18 million in stock. In August 1996, Varity merged with Lucas Automotive to become Lucas Varity. After a series of mergers and takeovers, the remains of Lucas Varity were acquired by the United States company TRW in 1999 for $6.53 billion. While Massey Ferguson had a strong global presence at 20% market share in 1994, it sold 87% of its machines outside North America. The acquisition by AGCO had the aim to increase AGCO's global presence outside North America and increase Ferguson's presence inside North America. In 2008, the 8600 series became the first agricultural tractor worldwide to feature selective catalyst reduction emissions technology branded E3 or SCR. In June 2012, the facility in Jackson, Minnesota was expanded to start building Massey Ferguson and comparable AGCO Challenger models for the North American market. Since production began at AGCO Jackson, the factory has produced 7600 series and the 8600 series Massey Ferguson tractors for the North American market. Production at the Jackson facility also included the 7700, 8700, 7700S and 8700S Ferguson tractors. In June 2020, AGCO announced expansion of its factory in Beauvais, France. After the expansion, the factory will cover a total area of 54 hectares and employ 2,500 people. New Massey Ferguson models will be designed, built and tested at the factory. With the completion of this factory expansion at the Beauvais location, the production of the 7700S and the 8700S models in Jackson ceased and returned to Beauvais only in the year 2022 as the new expansion is expected to fulfill global demand for those high horsepower tractor models. The move was made by AGCO management due to the increased demand for the company's self-propelled application equipment and Fendt tractors, which are produced at the location in Jackson. Since AGCO acquired the company, there have been a resurgence in expansion of the Massey Ferguson worldwide. Row crop tractors have continuously been produced in Beauvais, France since the factory in 1960, and in June 2022, the 1 millionth tractor was produced bearing the Massey Ferguson brand. The first tractor model from the Beauvais plant was an 825 and the millionth tractor was an 8S305 with Dyna VT transmission. Equipment offerings. So Massey Ferguson offer the following types of equipment and different regional ability throughout the globe. So you've got your compact tractors, your utility tractors, mid-range tractors, high horsepower tractors, hay and straw tools, planting equipment, combine harvesting equipment, self-propelled sprayers, telemetry systems, and replacement parts, and obviously maintenance kits. Massey Ferguson developed a wide range of agricultural tractors and have a large share in the market across the world, especially in Europe. Beginning in December 1957, the MF35, which was the first Massey Ferguson branded tractor, rolled off the factory floor. It was a Ferguson design that started its life in 1955 as the Ferguson 35, often nicknamed the Gold Belly due to the gold engine and gearbox. The 35S were massively popular and sold across the United Kingdom, Australia, Ireland and the United States. These were followed by earlier models like the 65. Starting in 1964, the next big selling model was the 135, which became wildly popular because of its reliability and power compared to other tractors at the time. This was the first model in the MF100 series. These models included the likes of the 135, the 148, the 165, the 168, the 175, 178, 185 and 188, also with others as well. In 1969, the MF1000 series was introduced. This model lineup included the 1080, the 1100, the 1130 and the 1150. In 71, the first articulated tractors were introduced. The MF15 and 1800, the smaller 1200 was built in Manchester for the European market. In 1977, the MF500 series was introduced, containing models like the 565, 575, 590 and the 595. From the mid-1970s and early 1980s came the 200 series tractor, which included models such as the 230, the 240, the 245, 265, 278, 285, 298 and 299. In the mid-1980s, the short-lived 600 series was released. This included the 675, 690, 690T, 695, 698 and 699. The reason behind poor sales figures was due to an unattractive styling and poor ergonomics, with the cab sitting much higher than previous MF tractors. Although the cab did give excellent visibility in a flat floor, being high off the ground meant it was best suited for field operations instead of livestock work. The 600 series was one of the first tractors to offer the user an option to control where the hydraulic fluid should be pumped. By moving a switch situated near the floor of the cab, the user could block off flow to the rear hydraulics and link arms, concentrating the full force of the pump on the front loader if equipped. In the late 1980s, one of the greatest selling tractors of all time was released, the 300 series Massey Ferguson. Excellent power, simplicity of cab, high range of gears and components made the MF30 series a success, especially in Europe. The range included the likes of the MF340, the 350, the 355, 365, 372, 375, 390, 390T, 398, 399 and the 399T. The most powerful and popular Massey Ferguson was the 399 or the 390T, with horsepower ranging from 45 to 104 horsepower. The 300 series was also equipped with either a high-line or a low-line cab, featured a flat floor, while the low-line cab had a hump in the middle for transmission. Some original examples of the lower horsepower 300 series have been known to fetch prices exceeding £400,000 sterling because of their rarity. In the mid-1990s, the 61 series and the 6100 and 8100 series were released, including the 6150 and the 8130. Tractors that came after the 300 series included the 4200 range and the 4300, the 3000 and 3100, the 6100, the 6200, the 8200, the 5400, the 8400, the 56 to 8600 and the 57 to 8700, the 37 to 67, the Global Series 57S, 67S and the 77S, also the 8700S. In the 2000s, Massey Ferguson also released the 86 and the 54 in limited markets. New generation AGCO power engines in the 8700S series provided levels of torque and horsepower unsurpassed in conventional tractor design. From the minimum of fuel, AGCO Power 6-cylinder 8.4 litre engines generated power from 270 to 405 horsepower. Massey Ferguson tractor production factories also built tractors marked for AGCO under the Challenger brand, and also specific model ranges for Iseki. In June 2020, Massey Ferguson launched a change in the tractor lineup, starting with the 8S series that replaced the 7700S range. In 2021, more models were launched. In January, the 5S series, and in September, the 6S series and the 7S. This change also brought a new model numbering. For example, the 5S was the 5 series 105 stands for the maximum horsepower. In 2022, Massey Ferguson presented a new compact tractor, the 1700M series, and the new specialised tractor 3S series. At Agri-Technica in November 2023, they also announced the release of the 9S series, ranging in power from 285 to 425 horsepower. Finally, in late 2024, MF launched its new lineup of 5M tractors to replace the 5700M range. The new range offers tractors from 85 horsepower up to its flagship of the range at 145 horsepower. And roughly that is where we are leaving it for now. We are up to the end of the range as such, as things have changed. Now, I only really mentioned the tractors there. There's a lot more I could talk about. I could talk about all the implements that Massey Ferguson have made down through the years, all the combines they have made, some fantastic machines, superb machines. And I will do another video on Massey Ferguson implements and combines and such, because it would be just too much to try and get into one video. So there you have it, Massey Ferguson in a nutshell. It's about as comprehensive a video as you will find on Massey Ferguson about the history of the company and the history of the people involved and the different stages of the company throughout its life. Hope you found it interesting. I hope you learned something out of it. Please, as I always ask, drop a comment into the comment section. Tell me about your story. Tell me about your favorite machines. My favorite machine, can anyone guess? Has anyone guessed? My favorite machine is actually not a tractor. It's a machine that has stood the test of time. Fantastic engineering for its day, 40, 50 years ago. Still widely used in the right conditions throughout Ireland and beyond. And it is the Massey Ferguson seed drill. Renowned or fantastically built machine, still doing excellent work in the right conditions. They're not for all conditions, but if you get a good disc model one, Massey Ferguson 30 or Massey Ferguson 500 seed drill, they're superb, and I am still looking for a decent one. So if anyone knows where there might be 3 or 4 meter Massey Ferguson 30 or a Massey Ferguson 500 seed drill in reasonably good condition, usable condition, I would say, please let me know, because I am looking for one, a disc model one. If you have a 4 meter one with an end toe kit, preferably. So that's it. That's my favorite. Let me know yours in the comments. And if you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching, as always. And I will be back next week with another video.